Alright people, Catfish Dave here. This is Broke Back Catfishing Part 2. It's Sunday morning, the day after I filmed the first video. It's 9:51 a.m. Just about over the morning bite, but man, I could barely get around. I got off the water yesterday and I could barely get my boat back on the trailer. I've had a little time to rest up. I stopped by the Weigels this morning and got me in a leave. That ain't gonna fix it. I've already been through this before. It may take the edge off. And because it's so late, I'm starting here in Fort Lousy, whatever you want to call it. I picked one of the closer boat ramps, George Creek ramp. And the game plan is, as you get above the bridge, there's this huge underwater island, okay? You've got two channels going around that island. It narrows this wide river down into just a couple small areas. Those are bottle points, places that'll funnel fish. Just above that island is a deep hole. There might be a little bit of morning bite left, so I'm going to start out anchoring. There's no current, so I'm just going to suspend and spot lock over that deep hole above the island. And if nothing pans out there, I plan on dragging both sides of that. It's already hot, it's going to get hotter. The boat traffic's already out, I can see it out there. It's going to be a lot of waves. It's going to be rough on my back, all that bouncing around. So let's get up here, let's get suspended and get this trip started. Get me camera all adjusted here. We ready? I'll tell you what, I ain't marking jack squat here. Well, we here, I'm doing a little bit better on bait than I was last trip. My back isn't quite as fired up, but it is bad. I move certain ways on that seat and it just kills me. So, I'm definitely not 100%. The Eagle Claw, 12-aught, L2004, I don't think they make them anymore. Shark hook. I really need to be putting a bigger hook on this suspended rod here. One of these days I'll get to it. It's 10:13 a.m. Pretty much past the morning bite, but right at the end of it, so we're going to sit here in this hole for just a bit. I ain't marked a fish nowhere. This is Fort Loudoun, you don't mark them here. That fish finder works if I go over to Melton Hill, or if I go over to Watts Bar or any other lake in the universe. That fish finder will find fish. You can cruise 10 miles of this river and not mark nothing. Never seen nothing like it. By all catfishing standards, this should be a good spot for either a giant blue or a giant flathead. Of course, I'm sure there's plenty of dinks running around somewhere. That's mostly what you get around here. This time of year anyhow. Either way, I'm baited up. I'm in what should be a good spot. I've never fished this spot. Most of the places I go, Since I've got this boat, when y'all see the video, that's the first time I fished it. I got that Navionics app on my phone, and I can sit there at work or at the house and scan the river and say, hey, I want to try this or I want to try that. If I didn't have a broke back, I would have got up at 6 a.m. and been on watch bar early and caught a bunch of catfish. We're going to do it the hard way though, out here in the heat of the day, hoping a fish will play right here on the stag-blasted Fort Lousy Reservoir. I'm going to go ahead and put my hat on now. It's already hot. And I don't need no skin cancer to go with my back trouble. Oh God. Ah. That's rough when you sit down and try to get back up. I really don't like having a float on there when you get this boat swing, because it'll pull the slack in your line, and then when your boat straightens back out, that float keeps rising higher. Next thing you know, you're fishing 20 foot off the bottom. So we'll try it for a minute. Usually in this wind, swinging boat crap, I'm better off just to not have a float on there at all. Just lay her flat on the bottom. That way, whether your line gets slack or not, at least the bait stays down there. 3 pretty large baits, fresh baits, in what should be a good hole if there was any catfish at all in this reservoir. Most of the blues have not been in the deep holes. They've been on ledges in 40 foot usually, or even less. Sometimes 20 foot. I'm hitting a spot, I'm hoping for a big flathead right here. If the big blue's gonna chew, I'll take it. There's not a lot of them left in this lake. River, reservoir, whatever you want to call it. That sun is facing right in the camera. There's always some undesirable condition going on. It's almost 11 a.m. You know, I've caught these flatheads up 12:30, just out of the blue, you know, out of one of these holes like this. So I know I can get blues dragging the bottom. So I like to fish like this, start off with. It's not very active when you don't have high numbers of blue cat anymore. They're just kind of scattered around. You got to go find them. But this could effectively put me on a big fish to start with. We gonna try it. I'm gonna take this rod on the right and kind of throw it over to the right, straight on the bottom. I mean, I've kind of got this section of the boat covered with that one suspended head, so if the bite is slow, if it's the middle of the day like this, let's get some coverage on this area. I'll be honest with you, it was quite painful just getting that rod out of the holder. I turn that spine a certain way, man. It's like someone sticking a knife in my back. I could barely walk to get to my truck after I got the boat back on the trailer yesterday. I was sweating and nauseated from the pain. Spinal stenosis is what I've got, and I believe it's from where I broke my back at a young age. And once that bone heals, well, it gets thicker. Well, the problem with a cracked vertebrae is it also gets thicker inside, which is where your spinal cord runs through it. So that spinal cord rubs on that area, and that's not good. Best thing I can do is stand. They told me I was going to have a back fusion, which is where they cut that one vertebrae completely out, put some pins between the other two, and then fill in around that with some fake bone. I didn't want no back fusion. I swallowed several years of hardcore prescription strength NSAIDs because that's what they said to do at first. And that gave me a lot of digestive troubles. So I knew I had to get off them. Luckily one day, somebody was burning a bunch of brush when I was fishing and I was ingesting the smoke. And they were burning poison sumac or poison ivy, but me breathing that smoke, I got a really bad case of it that almost killed me. To get the inflammation down, I got a shot of steroid and a pack of prednisone. And what that done, and I didn't know it at the time, but it got rid of a lot of the inflammation down in that number 5 vertebrae. And I haven't had to take anything for it now in like 3 or 4 years. Now it's back. And once it starts like this, it won't quit until I get another round of that steroid. Broken back catfishing. Well, all right, y'all. We've sat here in this hole 2 hours and ain't caught jack squat. There ain't much of jack squat in Fort Loudoun anymore. So plan B is we're gonna drag this channel on back around this island. It's a very narrow channel. It's a bottle point. So any fish between here and that bridge ought to be squeezed up in there. Back in the 90s, you could throw a skipjack head anywhere off the bank from the top of this reservoir to the bottom and have you a 30-pound fish within an hour or two. Now, there's only a few fish scattered throughout the entire thing, so you got to cover all this ground trying to find what few there are. The beauty about fishing catfish tournaments in this reservoir is if you catch an 18-pounder, you could win the tournament that day. We're just now starting to ease into that channel. It's taken me a while to get my trolling motor adjusted to this wind. I got to get lined up with this buoy, and then I'm going to aim the north button towards that buoy, and we'll be on our way. Surely we'll pick up some blue cats going through this narrow channel. It's a good 3/4 mile run, and it gets real narrow, man. It's a bottle point. I need to put me a heavy sinker on this other rod so I can have 2 suspended rods as well. I've got that big skipjack head suspended, dragging 2. Is that a bite? I believe that's a fish. I believe I got a fish on there. Well, we conjured up a blue cat out of this Fort Lousy Reservoir out here in the heat of the day. This actually ain't a Fort Loudoun fish. What these fish do is they'll eventually swim through the locks in Watts Bar and come in here. Fort Loudoun doesn't actually have fish until they do that. This is a very narrow channel and it's going to be quite hard to actually stay in. I'm just now getting in it. About the time we picked up that blue cat. Now I need to aim towards them green buoys over there and head down that way. The leader line I've been using all year since someone broke in my truck and stole my mamoy is I've been using this triple fish. Monofilament line, 80 pound, $16 for 660 yards. That's a lot of leaders. And it seems to be just fine, as good as anything I've ever used. Triple fish. You order this from Tackle Direct. We're cruising through some rough terrain. I can see that dragon weight really bouncing. That's the worst thing I can do is sit in that chair, man. It kills me. I don't want to be sitting on it when these waves hit. I came up the other side of the channel, which is a bottle point also, and I didn't mark jack doodly squat. So that's why I'm dragging down this way, and I ain't even gonna bother with that side. Back in the day, this guy could sit off his yard over here and catch 40, 50 catfish in a morning. Now there ain't probably 3 in a mile stretch of this thing. This modern day catfishing in Knoxville is some tough business. There we go. He come off, didn't he? No, he didn't. We're getting into the deeper section of this bottle point. This one hit a body piece. I got a head on the one on the left Out here in the heat of the day, man. Broke back catfishing part 2. My back is feeling a little better, but it still ain't right. And that's because I took some leave before I come out here. Both those baits on the left are heads. One suspended, one dragging. And then I've got a center on the right, just to see which one they prefer to bite. I'm not loaded on skipjack, but got more than I did yesterday, so. I need a little bit of wind out here, or it's going to get so hot my camera shuts off. I had some wind starting this trip. I don't know where it went. All right, y'all. There's supposed to be a 5 or 6 mile an hour breeze, and there's not. It's 91 and hot. It's hot. There ain't no breeze. Nothing but big, giant ocean cruiser boats. I just seen some skipjack up on the bank. Can't catch no catfish out of this place. I'll throw for one of them. I mean, they're all the way up on the bank. There we go. Ah, he come off. That was a bite. Woo-wee, a whole bite. Imagine that. That's the first one in about a mile. We got a whole bite. Well, I can't wait to come back here and fish again. And these skipjack that won't hit lures here, I can go right down river with the same exact lures, not change nothing, and start loading up on skipjack. Isn't that amazing? Even the skipjack are hard to catch here. I'm just a glutton for punishment. Them bottle points don't work if there ain't no fish to bottle up. Nah, I caught a couple. Yeah. Yeah, I've caught 2 catfish. Huh? Yeah. Some old lady in a yacht hitting on me. I don't need none of that. She's coming back for a second look. It must be the hat. Well, you see it. Almost 7 hours out here. I drug from the crazy house all the way down that bottled up channel, all the way down to here to catfish. 2 baits suspended off the bottom, 2 baits dragging the bottom. Skipjack head, skipjack body sections. I even switched over to a white bass chunk. Oh, just above the bridge, just to see if that would change anything. You have to have catfish for the catfish to find your bait. Now, as far as the dragging weights, I have not been hung up one time in all that dragging downriver. I've seen the rod dip down a couple times, pop up, but I have not been hung up. These are those dragon weights from B-Cats. Now the wind's gonna blow now that I'm about out of here. If you want some dragon weights, get these right here. If you want catfish, don't come to Loudoun Reservoir.